Night fell, and the girl was chilling, relaxing in the moonlight and cool stream, humming a melodious tune. The boy beside her was using his smartphone to search for information. After finishing her bath, the girl approached and hugged him from behind, complaining about his mumbling in the middle of the night. He scolded her, saying he was worried and that bathing at night was bad for her health. She just smiled, saying she wanted to make his heart flutter. Tomorrow there was an important battle, and she reminded him not to stay up too late, as he was the tribal chief. Looking up at the star-filled sky, he remarked that it was the only thing that hadn't changed compared to the world before. The next day, the fierce battle took place. He and the blonde girl appeared in shining armor, standing at the highest point, leading an entire army. The tide of battle had turned in their favor, and the girl remarked that her brother was a talented commander. But he hadn't devised the strategy himself, it was from Alexander and Oda Nobunaga. He admitted he was just cheating, while the girl was still bewildered, not understanding. As the enemy was declining, he ordered his troops to raise their flags high and charge forward. It had been 2 years since he was summoned to Yggdrasil. In this world, people killed each other fighting over land, and the weak were oppressed and trampled. In this world where he couldn't even communicate properly, somehow he had become the chief of the wolf tribe, a position that could decide someone's life or death. While lost in thought, his sister Felicia had helped him block an attack. The arrow came from the Horn tribe. Felicia said she would take care of this. She advanced, dancing with her whip continuously, deflecting all the enemy arrows. He praised her skill, saying she deserved to be the queen of this land. Hearing him call her that, she thought he intended to marry her since he was king. Felicia observed that if the situation here was like this, the battlefield must be extremely fierce. Yuto worried about Rune, but he was being overanxious since she was the strongest wolf, the Moonlight Wolf. The wolf tribe raised their flags high, announcing they had defeated the Horn tribe. Rune had returned. She was Yuto's daughter. She had won completely without a single scratch. Hearing her father say he would fulfill anything she wanted, Rune asked him to pat her head, saying it was the best thing she could think of. Being patted on the head, Rune was as happy as an obedient dog. Rune had captured the Horn tribe chief and handed them over to the soldiers. Yuto ordered his subordinates to set up tents to prepare for negotiations. The Horn tribe chief was brought to him a pink-haired girl named Linnea. Seeing the girl still being defiant, Yuto signaled for silence and introduced himself to her. He got straight to the point, wanting her to become his child. She disagreed, saying that as the dignified Horn tribe, why should she serve under the lowly wolf tribe? To her, the wolf tribe was just a pack of dogs. It's true that the wolf tribe was once like that, but thanks to Yuto, the tribe had been reborn, becoming powerful wolves. Linnea saw Yuto as just a weakling and looked down on him. Rune angrily punched the ground as a warning. She wouldn't allow anyone to insult her father. Yuto intervened to make peace. He wanted everyone to respect each other. When opponents resist in threatening situations, they're more likely to accept someone who intends to help, a trick Yuto had read in books and now had a chance to put into practice. He made another proposal. If she didn't want to be his child, Linnea could be his sister, and this was her final choice. As a sister, she wouldn't need to serve him absolutely. Seeing she still seemed unwilling to agree, Yuto warned that her town would end up like Van Town, burnt down with its people massacred. At this point, Linnea could only compromise. After the negotiations, Yuto felt completely exhausted. The two girls sat beside him, consoling him. Felicia even let him bury his face in her chest to comfort him. She found him so naive and advised him not to strain himself. Comforting him was something she had to do when she summoned him to this world. Then the three returned to the city amid the cheers of the surrounding people. Yuto responded by raising his sword high as a symbol of victory. It took a long time to get back. Two subordinates came to greet them, claiming the credit for the victory because they had prayed to the goddess. Yuto was in a hurry and asked to leave first. The long-haired one scolded him for being disrespectful to his elders. He was the brother of the previous tribal chief, so he wanted Yuto to respect him. Yuto was about to get angry, and Felicia had to step in to mediate. She turned back, winking meaningfully at Yuto. Yuto rushed to the top of the tower. The sun was already setting. He used his smartphone to call his girlfriend in the real world, telling her he was still okay. Hearing this, his girlfriend was very happy and asked if Yuto had found a way home yet. Yuto still hadn't. The girl said she would wait. She would definitely wait for him. Felicia watched this scene from afar, her heart aching. After finishing, Yuto lay down to rest. Looking at the sky, he guessed that this place wasn't another world but just somewhere on Earth. The tools and culture of the people here were from between 1300 and 2000 BC, the Bronze Age. Looking at the stars, this place was in the northern hemisphere, but Yuto didn't know the exact location. The next morning, Felicia and Rune had breakfast ready. Thanks to the flour mill, they could bake bread every day. Seeing that Yuto's little brother was already standing at attention early in the morning, Felicia climbed onto the bed, offering to help him release tension. Rune, seeing her father being bullied, got angry and warned Felicia. Felicia immediately brainwashed her, saying that men must clean their pipes for their own good and to avoid falling into the hands of other women. They had to satisfy him. That seemed reasonable, and Rune also wanted to join in. Yuto could only escape by going to breakfast. They had formed an alliance with the Horn tribe and needed to provide them with many iron weapons. In the forge, Ingrid was enthusiastically directing the workers. Yuto went to see her. Not having seen him for a long time, she appeared very shy. Looking at her expression, it was clear she liked Yuto, but was at Sundir. Felicia coughed once to warn Ingrid to be respectful to the chief. Ingrid apologized, saying she had known Yuto from before, so she was a bit too casual. Yuto informed her that the Horn tribe chief had become his sister, so the two tribes might share weapons, making Ingrid even busier. Yuto and Linnea performed the Holy Cup ceremony. In this place, the tribe members pledged to the chief through the Holy Cup to become children or siblings. The relationship through the Holy Cup was more than blood. It was a sacred ritual called the Oath of Loyalty, binding the chief and everyone together. Through this ritual, Yuto could find a way to return without worrying. In the evening, Linnea called Yuto outside. She bowed her head, asking him to treat the Horn tribe like the Wolf tribe. He could do whatever he wanted with her. He patted her head, agreeing to this cute sister's request. She had tears of gratitude in her eyes. Suddenly, Felicia came running with bad news. An emergency meeting was immediately convened. 4 days ago, a major tribe from the west had begun to invade the Horn tribe and had captured a fortress on the border. Yuto wanted the army to rescue the Horn tribe immediately. The elders began to speak up, saying that the Horn tribe's invasion wasn't their business. They saw the Horn tribe as always being the enemy. They should have been made slaves rather than sworn siblings. Angry, Yuto slammed the table, ordering everyone to be quiet. He used the Wolf tribe's honor to decide they must rescue the Horn tribe. In the bright moonlight, Linnea prepared her things, wanting to ask her big brother for something, so she was practicing beforehand. After a while, she was determined she could do it. In the camp on the other side, the enemy tribe chief was planning for his Claw tribe to wipe out the Horn tribe. What surprised him was that the Horn tribe had come to this place on their own, which in his view was like seeking death. Leading the army was Rune, which surprised him because the team consisted only of cavalry. He couldn't understand how they could both ride horses and fight at the same time. Because Rune brought very few people, he thought his forces just needed to stay calm, and everything could be resolved. But today, Rune came not to challenge, but to stir things up. After completing her task, she ordered her troops to withdraw. News that the Claw tribe was in chaos was transmitted to Linnea. She marveled at how skilled Rune was to overwhelm the army of Ungvi, the Claw tribe chief. She truly was a strong Einherjar ruling Alfheimer in Norse mythology. She also thought the saddles were amazing, allowing people to ride horses and fight normally. When Yuto slammed the table, declaring to the foolish elders that he would save the Horn tribe, Linnea's heart was moved. He ordered Rune to lead the Muspel team ahead, using Plan B, the Mongol formation. Jurgen would gather the main force and had to finish everything before dawn. Ingrid would show Linnea the tricks of the saddles. Seeing that Linnea wasn't from their country, Ingrid was cautious, not wanting to reveal national secrets. Hearing this, Linnea was briefly sad, thinking she was an outsider. Yuto firmly stated that she was his sister. Then he ordered her to return to the Horn tribe to mobilize the soldiers. Remembering this, Linnea's maiden heart fluttered. A subordinate opened the door, reporting that the Wolf tribe would soon arrive. Linnea walked through the rows of soldiers, looking for Yuto. He was right beside her. Seeing her crush, she was immediately flustered. Yuto thought she had a cold and reminded her that the battle was approaching. As the chief, she must always remain calm, or everything would fall apart. The enemy was half a day's walk away, so Yuto wanted to have a wine party to boost morale. Approach the objective while the enemy is far away. Rest comfortably while the enemy is tired. Be full while the enemy is hungry. This was a way to conserve energy that he had learned. Anyway, they had to eat if they didn't want to fight on empty stomachs. Hearing this, Linnea admired him greatly. Yuto had also sent Rune, his trustworthy daughter, ahead. The Claw tribe soldiers were very tired because they hadn't slept for 3 days. Whenever they tried to rest a little, Rune's cavalry would rush in to attack. A soldier ran to report to the chief that an army was approaching. This time they guessed it was the main force. The chief immediately ordered them to form ranks. Rune calmly observed from afar, eating an apple. Currently, the Claw tribe was very weak. The Wolf tribe raised their flags high, launching a general offensive. The Claw tribe chief had heard of Yuto with his strange ideas for a long time, and now he finally got to meet him. Yet he still looked down on him, thinking Yuto was only strong on the front lines. To him, Yuto was just a kid. Seeing the Claw tribe forces splitting up, Linnea was happy because everything was going according to plan. Earlier, Yuto had predicted that the enemy would know the weakness in their formation and attack from the flank. He assured Linnea that she just needed to hold on. A great pressure made her afraid. Ungvi, the Claw tribe chief, charged on his horse. He was like a monster. Linnea quickly encouraged her troops, saying they just needed to hold on to win. But when witnessing the chieftain's brutality, she found this impossible. She desperately hoped Yuto would save her. Yuto was standing and observing. Everything was happening faster than he had expected. The enemy forces had found the weakness of their opponents and counterattacked. Unfortunately, Yuto had calculated this as well. While the Claw tribe chief was still self-congratulatory, Yuto had planned a trap. Behind Ungvi, Rune led her troops forward, targeting him directly. She announced her name, demanding the enemy also state his identity. Then the two engaged in one-on-one combat. Rune was knocked off her horse by him. He pointed his spear at her face, saying they would meet again in Valhalla in the next battle. Rune turned the tables, drawing her sword, cutting off Ungvi's sword, then asking for his head. He lay in a pool of blood, curious about the weapon she was carrying. It was a Japanese sword. This world was vast, and he felt lucky to have fought with a warrior like Rune. The two promised to meet again in Valhalla. Then she raised her sword high, announcing that she had defeated the Claw tribe chief. Linnea sat down, tears of joy falling from her eyes. Trouble came to Yuto again. Even when he went to bathe, 2 girls followed him, insisting on protecting him. This was enemy territory, and Rune wasn't comfortable leaving her father alone with Felicia. Just then, Linnea also entered. She had something to discuss with him. She wanted Yuto to marry her. Hearing this news, the other 2 were completely shocked. Felicia warned her that barging into the bathroom and then asking to marry someone was disrespectful. As a sister, she should scrub her big brother's back first. Linnea agreed to do just that. Seeing this, the other 2 argued about taking turns, and only Yuto was confused and uncomfortable. After the bath, everyone sat down to talk. Linnea wanted to marry to strengthen the relationship between the tribes and for mutual benefit. She wanted to marry him and rule the Horn tribe together with him. Rune found this absurd as the dignified Wolf tribe chief. Yuto had no business ruling the Horn tribe. Linnea argued loudly, saying he would still be the Wolf tribe chief, but he needed to develop the tribe. Linnea had considered many times before making this proposal. Felicia thought this only benefited the Wolf tribe. Yuto spoke up, saying he didn't want there to be any hidden intentions between them, so he asked about what Linnea really needed. Linnea had to tell the truth. The person who becomes the Wolf tribe chief is decided by ability, not bloodline. The strong rule everything. But she was a hereditary chief without ability. If anyone knew this secret, her position would be lost. She wanted to entrust everything to him. She was a child her father had high expectations for, to the point of blind love. Because he doted on her, he had made her the heir, despite many people being dissatisfied. She wasn't even an Einherjar. But she wanted to be chief to protect what her father cherished. She thought she could do it, but couldn't, so she wanted someone talented like Yuto to lead the Horn tribe. She promised to do everything for him. Yuto was uncomfortable, and Felicia helped him out of the situation. This wasn't something they could decide on their own. They had to discuss it with everyone in the tribe first. Linnea also realized she was a bit hasty. Yuto and Felicia put on their ceremonial clothes. He complained that they were very heavy. From where he stood, he could see that this place was very different from Yggdrasil. If he married Linnea, this town would belong to him, becoming a stronghold to help him become the ruler of Alfheimer. But Yuto disagreed, even though this was beneficial for the Wolf tribe. Felicia wanted him to marry Linnea because he had talked to his girlfriend from the old world. He wanted to be able to return with peace of mind. She worried he would disappear. If he became the Horn tribe chief, he would stay because he would have to fight with other countries. She felt disgusted with herself for being so pragmatic. Yuto apologized to her for wanting to return when she had taken care of him for the past 2 years. Trusted, Felicia wholeheartedly wanted to help Yuto. She was determined to stop this wedding. From elsewhere, a red-haired man was riding towards them. He was eager to see the Yuto he had heard about in rumors. 2 girls were looking at the wolf tribe with admiration. Suddenly, the younger sister sneezed as if she had the flu. The older sister worriedly asked about her condition, when suddenly she was pulled down by her sister, both lying on the ground in a rather awkward position. The younger sister claimed this was the way to cure a cold, by transmitting it to someone else. The older sister refused, but seeing her sister's pitiful face, she lay down and embraced her, not knowing it was all a cunning plot from her little sister. Yuto proceeded with the ceremony alongside everyone. When everything ended, a small victory party was held. Linnea offered wine to him, as he had been working hard lately. Seeing her, Yuto remembered the marriage proposal from earlier. The situation was truly terrible. Linnea invited him to try a delicious dish, seeming happy when he enjoyed food from the Horn tribe. She wanted to bring up the marriage proposal again, but feeling too shy, she could only distract herself by feeding him. An uncle appeared from somewhere, impressed that the two were as close as a newly married couple, making both of them blush. Felicia also wanted to get in on the action. She used her feminine charm to seduce Yuto, saying their wolf tribe had many women too, so they didn't need pretty girls from other tribes. Looking at her full, round breasts, Yuto's mind went blank. She suggested he let her lean on him. He absent-mindedly agreed, embracing her. Taking advantage, she provoked Linnea. Linnea was red-faced with anger, but had to pretend not to care, defending herself by saying that if she did marry Yuto, letting him be happy with other women would be her business. Suddenly, there was a noise outside, and Yuto cautiously looked toward the door. The red-haired man with an arrogant demeanor had brought himself here. He was Steinthur, the tribal chief of the Lightning tribe, ruling the northern Vanheimer. In rumors, he was a king with a tiger's heart, a competitive person. Everyone scolded the old man who came with him for bringing him the killer of their previous tribal chief here. They drew their weapons, not wanting to let him leave alive. The old man behind him, a priest of the Asgard Empire ruling Yggdrasil, spoke up to defuse the situation. He wanted everyone to put aside their hostilities because Steinthur was a guest he had brought. His words carried weight, so everyone had to listen. But Steinthur kept provoking them. He was strong enough to intimidate a soldier who had drawn his sword again. He snapped his fingers, and the sword in the soldier's hands shattered. That was Mjolnir, a unique rune that converted divine power into destructive energy. His limbs were very powerful because of the Mejingjord rune. He had 2 runes, making him one of the 3 strongest people in Yggdrasil, truly a game hacker. Steinthur looked around, finding Yuto. Rune quickly rushed up to shield him, warning Steinthur not to touch her father. Her silver hair proved her identity as the strongest of the wolf tribe, Sigrun. The red-haired man stepped past her, boldly advancing toward Yuto. Linnea cursed him as a beast who couldn't understand human language. He looked at her, guessing she was the new tribal chief, but couldn't remember her name. After racking his brain, he came up with the name Borgbild, greatly annoying Linnea. Yuto held her hand to calm her down. He warned Steinthur not to harass others when his target was him. Seeing his demeanor, Steinthur remarked that he knew how to put on airs, then teleported to him, laughing wildly, saying it had been a long time since he felt fear like this. Finding Yuto to be an interesting young man, he asked for his name, address, and home. Upon hearing the name Yuto, he was stunned, saying he had memorized his name, then casually left like a fly. The 2 girls sighed with relief as the danger had passed. Walking on the street, Steinthur felt very excited. Yuto was the one who would destroy the world. He found him very promising. He agreed to the priest's request. In the evening, Yuto called his girlfriend again. She scolded him for being busy fighting and neglecting her for 3 weeks. She couldn't understand why he was always so busy. She warned him of 3 things to know as a tribal chief. He must report, communicate, and consult her. Despite her harsh words, she shed tears of joy because Yuto was still alive. He apologized for not contacting her and making her worry. The next morning, he and Felicia went to tour the town, befitting a tribal chief. The prosperity here was also thanks to his invention of paper. Thanks to merchants trading with other countries, their economy had been growing. The 2 sisters had been following them for some time. Yuto noticed a place selling slaves. A mother and child were being displayed as merchandise. Looking at the pitiful child, Yuto bought them. He ordered the guards to take them to him and treat them carefully. Having done a good deed, he felt relieved. After the battle with the Horn Tribe and the Claw Tribe, the aftermath was a pile of documents that needed to be processed. Although very busy, Felicia was happy to help him. Suddenly, messengers from the Claw Tribe arrived, wanting an audience. Seeing they were twins, Yuto warned that children were not allowed here. Rune quickly reminded them that she had asked them to wait in the reception hall. It turned out that the pair were messengers, eager to see their future husband. The two sisters argued over which one was more eager to meet him first. Finally, the older sister was pushed forward to apologize to Yuto, while the younger sister stood behind, chiming in that it was all her sister's fault. They began to introduce themselves again. This purple-haired girl was the biological daughter of the Claw Tribe chief, Christina, and the blue-haired girl was the second oldest sister, Albertina. By order of Chief Botvid, they had come to be Yuto's wives. Everyone was shocked, their mouths hanging open. Yuto had clearly never agreed to marriage, and the two girls had not been invited here, so he asked them to go home. Seeing that they had come all this way only to be rejected, the older sister appeared unwilling, while the younger sister continued to speak ill of her sister, making Albert blush in embarrassment as she sat down on the ground, hoping Yuto would treat her well. Watching them perform their sisterly act, Felicia thought they had been sent here to save their country the trouble. All the bad things said about them were heard by the two sisters, as they were also Einherjar. Hearing this, Felicia gently reminded Yuto to treat them carefully. Yuto was resolute. He would not marry these sisters. Chris thought the reason was that Yuto was preparing to marry the Horn Tribe. They had good hearing and knew a lot of information. Rather than making them wives, Yuto preferred to make them his daughters. Coincidentally, the younger sister was also not interested in being a wife and didn't want anyone touching her sister. They had come only to test Yuto's intentions. They agreed to be his daughters. They knelt down to pledge, hoping to be accepted. Yuto felt they were still hiding something, but he finally accepted, on the condition that the two prove their abilities. Tonight the moon was bright. Under the moonlight, the younger sister wanted to ask if her brother needed her. The brother hugged her, and the two ended up lying down together. Princess Linnea was awakened by the call of her subordinate. It was all just her dream. The subordinate reported that Yuto would come to Gimlo. Hearing this, she quickly got up. The carriage raced along the road, and the two sisters sang happily. Chris's Vetafulnir rune could eliminate headwinds, while Alber's Hresvelger rune could create tailwinds to push the carriage. These two powers would make journeys faster, very useful for future battles. Chris wanted to control more, but the sisters could only control the wind around themselves. Very soon, they arrived at Gimmel, a large town, also a huge granary. Before the harvest, the wheat was brilliantly yellow, helping Yuto solve food problems. Alber's stomach growled loudly. She was starving. Her younger sister Chris pulled out a cake, but instead of saving her hungry sister, she took it and bit a delicious piece, to her sister's regret. Then she sat down crying and making a scene, so Yuto had to pat her head, comforting her with a promise to buy food when they entered the town. Then he went to meet the guards there. This town had been ruled by the Horn Tribe for many years, and the people had not forgotten. If Yuto's group interfered and demanded they change their farming methods, no one would care. Felicia reported that Linnea had come to see him. Having not seen Yuto for a long time, Linnea was overjoyed. This town had been ruled by the Horn Tribe. Because she was worried about it, she had come here. That was just an excuse. The real reason was that she wanted to see him, wanted his answer. Felicia reported that the Claw Tribe had also proposed marriage to Linnea, and then Albert appeared, cheering in support. The younger sister Chris quickly arrived, claiming she would be the first wife while her sister would only be a concubine. Linnea disagreed, saying the Horn Tribe was a country stronger than the Claw Tribe, definitely more beneficial for the Wolf Tribe. Chris taunted her for being a woman without any confidence. Yuto could only change the subject, asking Linnea about the situation in the town. She was worried that people who didn't know Yuto might not accept the oath between them. This was indeed the case, as the person who had ruled them before was a good person. Yuto had always wanted them to improve their working methods, but they refused. He wanted them to use Norfolk crop rotation, a way of growing different types of plants in groups, preventing soil erosion. Hearing it sounded good, Linnea wanted him to explain it clearly to her. Then she gathered the people, told them about this method, and very quickly the planting areas were divided. There would be people worried about a bad harvest. She wanted him to promise them as a guarantee. They could start tomorrow. Yuto felt lucky to have a sister like Linnea. Hearing this, she hesitantly agreed. At night, she soaked in the bathtub, her heart full of determination. Then she put on a cool outfit and went to find Yudo. He agreed to let her into his room. Then she took off the thin cloth on her body, approached Yudo, and hugged him tightly. She begged him to marry her. Yudo hugged Linnea into the room, but when the image of his girlfriend in the real world appeared, he pushed Linnea away. Linnea was very sad, thinking it was because she had no appeal. Whenever marriage was mentioned, Yuto looked very sad. Around him were all beautiful and cute women. She thought he would not be interested in an ordinary person like her. Yuto complimented her as very beautiful. But he was the wolf tribe chief and had responsibilities that was just a lie. He banged his head against the wall, then knelt down and told the truth. He couldn't marry her because he already had someone he loved and didn't want to betray her. Linnea could also be a concubine, but Yudo's world did not allow that. He began to tell her the truth. He was not from here, but from another world 1,000 years in the future. He knew many things that people here didn't know. Although somewhat hard to believe, Linnea had to accept it. He had brought technology from the future, so she understood to some extent. Yuto would have to return to his old world for the girl he loved, so he couldn't love anyone here. Linnea felt very jealous of that girl. Yuto also talked about her, a good girl, a bit talkative, easy to cry, and very scary when angry. He needed to go back for her. Linnea wondered whom the Horn tribe could rely on without him. Yuto saw that the tribe still had Linnea. He was very surprised by what she had done here. Linnea didn't see it that way. She only saw herself as the privileged daughter of a prestigious family. But her father foolishly declared war on the wolf tribe, then lost, causing suffering to the people. She felt useless. Her job was to follow someone with real power. She didn't know what she should do. Yudo also felt useless, having knowledge that no one in this world had, but just using lord tricks to steal rather than having any real talent. He always believed his knowledge was correct, but made a big mistake that caused deaths. But he had recognized his flaws to strive forward. He encouraged Linnea to move forward for real strength. He believed she could definitely do it, promising to help her as long as he was in this world. Linnea felt she shouldn't rush to give up pursuing her brother. She removed the cloth covering her body again, ignoring that he already had a girlfriend, and stepped toward him step by step. Fortunately, Chris poked her head in to intervene, reporting an emergency. The Lightning Tribe was preparing for war. According to merchants, the Lightning Tribe was buying weapons to fight the Wolf Tribe. Chris asked Yudo to let her go to the Lightning Tribe to spy on the situation. Yudo knew her talent, but still stopped her because this was dangerous work. Chris kicked a chair, causing the sleeping Albert to fall to the ground and wake up, then ordered her to capture Olaf, who was sitting opposite. Quick as lightning, Albert had a knife to his throat before he was even aware. She was very fast, but also very weak, not suitable for fighting on the battlefield. But for escorts or assassinations, she was a master. It turned out that these two girls were sent to Yudo because their skills were too overpowered and caused concern. At this point, he had no choice but to send them to the Lightning Tribe. If this mission succeeded, the sisters wanted to pledge to him. They had reached the river at the border between the two tribes' territories. Yudo found that the tribal chief Steinther was like the previous enemy, careless and ignorant. He thought they should cross the river and combat him afterward. He wanted to ask Linnea for help with something only she could do. In the evening, Yudo called his girlfriend again. He reported that he would have another battle. He had to fight back because he was attacked first. His girlfriend wanted him to promise to survive and return. Afterward, Yuto and everyone began the meeting. They didn't understand what Steinther wanted. It turned out that the Lightning Tribe and the Claw Tribe were allies. Ungvi was Steinther's father-in-law. Perhaps he wanted revenge. Everything for the battle was prepared, just waiting for Christina to contact and report the situation. Since Steinther became the tribal chief, the Lightning Tribe had never lost. They arranged their troops in the traditional way without needing special weapons or cavalry. They had never used traps, only one tactic, charging forward all in. The reason they always won was Steinther, with two runes emanating the appearance of a vanguard at the front, crushing the enemy troops, transmitting a sense of righteousness to the troops behind. Yudo couldn't guarantee winning this battle either. Rune apologized for not being as strong as that monster. About 7 years ago, the Lightning Tribe fought with the Snake Tribe. Steinther was only 13 years old, not yet the tribal chief, but had already single-handedly defeated a fortress of 100 people. He just smashed the gate and charged straight in. 3 years ago, with the Claw Tribe, he had fallen into Ungvi's trap, causing the entire Lightning Tribe to be surrounded. but he had broken through the encirclement alone and severely injured the enemy. His ability had surpassed that of an Einherjar, but Yudo still just saw him as an idiot. The wolf tribe would not lose to such a person. Very soon, the battle took place. Chris sent a pigeon back with the news. Rune wanted to apologize to her father for her rudeness at that time. Rune was in a match with Yudo. With just one move, she had defeated Yudo. She felt he wasn't worthy of being a guardian. As for Yudo, not wanting to feel ashamed, he had charged forward. He accidentally exposed an opening for Rune to attack, but he saw that Rune was the one with an opening. He used both hands to embrace her, showing an unseemly posture. That's why she dealt him a blow. Today, under the full moon, she remembered the goddess Angaboda, praying for her to watch over her father, bringing victory to the wolf tribe. It was time to prepare for the battle. Steinther was also very eager to destroy the wolf tribe. His subordinates advised him to wait because Yudo had many tricks and schemes. Upon hearing about waiting, Steinther immediately lost his patience, thinking it would be too boring. His adopted children advised him to listen this time. Steinther raised his hammer high, ordering all troops to advance. Many of his frontline troops had been defeated. The shields were no longer effective because the wolf tribe used iron weapons. Steinther thought that using iron for arrows or weapons was very wasteful. Chris rode a horse to report the situation. The crossbow team with technology from the future was winning overwhelmingly on Yudo's side. With future technology, the damage of arrows had been leveled up, and the aim was very accurate. But everything had its weaknesses. Arrows that flew far and carried great damage would have a long loading time. Steinther ordered all his troops not to stop but to keep moving forward. Seeing the enemy approaching, Yudo ordered the crossbow team to retreat, starting to deploy the formation. After a signal bell, Steinther's troops continued to be defeated. Steinther also didn't understand what was happening. The formation was the main army of the wolf tribe, while the cavalry was just support. Although the arrow was a new weapon, Steinther believed everything would still be the same as before. He had one child look after the left flank, the other on the right flank, while he would directly face the enemy. Yudo's side still had the advantage. Everything was easier than he thought. He even felt that dealing with the Claw tribe was harder. He wished Steinther would command the troops. Everything would be as easy as eating candy because he was an idiot. But the Lightning tribe had another very skilled strategist. Yudo was also aware that this was not a game. He didn't want to give the enemy a chance to counterattack. The signal was given, and Rune quickly received the order. Her team began to attack. Yudo used his familiar harassment tactic, using the formation to counter the enemy. Then the cavalry would attack the flank directly. The enemy had deployed chariots. Rune charged straight forward, one-on-one with the famous strategist of the Lightning tribe. The two combated fiercely. When Rune thought everything was over, Steinther blocked one of her spears. He found her not bad and wanted her to fight with him. The two combated again. Steinther remarked that Rune was a formidable opponent when she blocked his attack. Then he hit her continuously, forcing her and the Muspel team to retreat. For the first time, Yudo's tactics didn't work. Fortunately, Rune had listened to him, retreating when she couldn't fight any longer. It seemed this battle was a bit difficult for the wolf tribe, but this was war. Yudo still thought they could overwhelm the enemy with numerical superiority. Steinther charged forward alone, making Yudo feel this was truly foolish courage. Felicia also agreed with him. Steinther charged with a chariot and then jumped out of it, alone breaking through the barriers of the soldiers. He continued to smash Yudo's troops, bringing along the morale of his troops. Yudo couldn't understand what was happening. His formation was falling apart. A subordinate advised him to retreat, and he would stay to take care of everything. All of Yudo's troops were ordered to withdraw. Steinther wanted to chase and stop them, but was blocked by the previous Moonlight Wolf. He had given him a wound on his face. He was Scarfear, a wolf tribe member stronger even than Rune. Steinther was very excited to combat with such a strong person. But Scarfear wasn't interested in fighting here. He told the Lightning tribe soldiers that there was a lot of iron on the ground. If they collected and sold it, they could live in luxury for life. Then he followed the wolf tribe in retreat. Steinther wanted to call his troops to pursue, but they had been consumed by greed, only focused on collecting iron. His son drove a carriage over, advising him to rest in the middle of the battle. Looking at the retreating troops, Steinther was contemptuous. So the Yudo he had been looking forward to was only this much. While eating, bad news came. Steinther's son had died when confronting Scarfear. Hearing the news, he collapsed, grabbing the collar of the strategist and kicking him. Very quickly, he regained his calm, rushing to ask about the situation. Because the soldiers were losing morale, Steinthur had to personally go to confront them. He was determined to crush the wolf tribe. He targeted Yudo, not letting him escape. Scarfear had stopped him. He competitively charged forward, wanting to avenge his son. The two combated with each other, but Scarfear had a very light counter move. Then he quickly rode his horse across the river, not bothering with the young hothead. Steinthur also ordered his soldiers to pursue, not thinking that he was about to walk into a trap. Yudo was just playing bait, pretending to lose to lure the tiger. When Steinthur crossed the river, a series of arrows were shot down. Scarfear blocked him at the bank, seeing that he still didn't know his limits. He and Rune had been assigned to stay and block him. Felicia would also participate. He had been surrounded by 7 Einherjar. His biggest weakness was his arrogance. 7 people surrounded and attacked him together, making his anger reach its peak. He went crazy, stripping everyone of their weapons. Even with 7 against 1, they still couldn't win. Everyone had to admit he was truly strong, but those 7 were just stopping him. They got back on their horses and fled again. Now Steinthur noticed the riverbank. A tsunami had swept everything away. It turned out that Linnea had built a dam to accumulate water and then blew it up when the enemy tried to cross the river. This was an excellent plan from medieval generals. The biggest credit this time belonged to Linnea when she had successfully organized the dam construction. Without her help, they couldn't have won. So this time, Yudo bid farewell to the arrogant Steinthur. Seeing him, he remembered his own foolish time, so he really hated him. But Steinthur wasn't dead yet, just had some broken bones. In the evening, Yudo called to report the good news of victory to his girlfriend. Now the Lightning Tribe's land was in his hands, so he had a pile of work to do. His girlfriend didn't care, just wanted him to come home soon. Unfortunately, Yudo didn't know how to return. If the wolf tribe became stronger, he would research more places. He thought he would find a way soon. She would wait for him. Yudo was trying to blow glass, but he failed. Ingrid beside him lost her patience. At this rate, they wouldn't be able to create what's called a glass cup. This was harder than Yudo thought. He handed the blowing tube to Ingrid, wanting her to try. Using the tool that Yudo had just used made Ingrid blush with embarrassment. Yudo wanted to get another one, but Ingrid stopped him. Then she tried to hold the blowing tube. Yudo encouraged her to be calm. He would help her hold it steady. Unexpectedly, Ingrid succeeded on her first try. At this rate, they could mass-produce glass. Just being praised once, Ingrid immediately imagined a wedding. Yudo called her back to reality. The little girl was confused, not knowing why she appeared here. Yudo seemed quite concerned about her the other day, so she was allowed to be here. Felicia comforted her, saying she didn't need to worry. If Yudo liked her, they could be friends. Seeing this, the little girl thanked them profusely. Today they gathered here to discuss an important matter related to Yudo. They found that Yudo was someone with both military and political talent, but wasn't arrogant and always worked harder than anyone else. The current success of the wolf tribe was all thanks to him. So he would get to rest, going to the foot of Mount Surtsey to relax. Changing the atmosphere was necessary to chill. Hearing that this was a good opportunity to flirt with Yudo, the girls flared up with killing intent. His girlfriend at home suddenly had a bad premonition to the extent that she almost fell off her chair. Yudo guessed she had a cold, advising her to rest. So the next day, in front of Yudo, the girls proposed a relaxing healing trip. Yudo wanted to refuse because he couldn't chill when everyone was working. Under the determination of his wives, Yudo had to listen. Georgian was assigned to take charge of Ironvitter for a few days. He immediately agreed because this vacation was also very important for the wolf tribe, as long as Yudo was healthy to be the tribal chief. The prosperity of the wolf tribe would be guaranteed for many years to come. Their subtle meaning was that they wanted him not to return. Nothing would guarantee that the wolf tribe would still be peaceful afterward. They had arrived at the resort, a wonderful place with beautiful scenery, wooden houses, and hot springs. When Yudo was soaking himself, the 2 twin sisters didn't hesitate to jump in with him. The older sister comfortably and carelessly soaked in the tub, not paying attention to Yudo, who was very embarrassed and just wanted her to leave. The younger sister Chris refused, saying they were his guards after all. Yudo felt this was unnecessary. After all, there couldn't be any assassins around. If there were any, they would only be deer and monkeys, which these 2 basically couldn't deal with. Yudo told Chris to go call Rune, while he would slip away when they left. Unfortunately, it was too late. The girls had already wrapped themselves in towels and were coming over. Chris mischievously whispered in Yudo's ear, so he was reassured. While immersing herself in the hot water, Felicia sighed that this place was truly paradise. Ingrid was still shy, not daring to take off her towel. Linnea had never bathed in hot springs before. This experience was very new and wonderful. And Albert played carefreely like a child. The little girl was still timid. She was a slave, so she felt that going on this trip wasn't very reasonable. Only Yudo was embarrassed, feeling that this life was so unlucky. Chris swam over, telling him to relax instead of staying in one place. Yudo was too embarrassed and jumped to the shore, where Felicia and Rune greeted him. They wanted to scrub his back because they had missed the opportunity before. Finally, he compromised, letting the lovely ladies do what they wanted. So the beautiful sisters knelt before him. They had discussed various ways to take care of him. In the end, they had divided the service positions among themselves. Yudo didn't expect things to turn out like this. Because a king must always know how to defend himself and stay calm. He shouted loudly for the girls to come at him, but after the bath, they had to let him go home. Felicia used her breasts to scrub his back, using her body, which was the only thing a big-breasted girl could do. Because Felicia said Rune could scrape off people's skin, Rune used her mouth to lick and care for Yudo's feet. Yudo scolded Felicia for spoiling his daughter. Seeing that they couldn't stand being defeated, Linnea and Ingrid competitively rushed forward. Having a group of girls surrounding him like this made him unable to endure anymore, causing him to have a nosebleed and faint. After waking up, he had reviewed all the demon ladies. They defended themselves, saying it was because they wanted to repay Yudo. If Yudo already wanted to return, they thought they should do everything they could when they had the chance. Hearing this, Yudo allowed them to take care of him, but they had to be fully clothed and keep a distance. Being permitted, Felicia came up with a new trick, which was to massage him. So the lovely demon ladies took advantage again, messing around on the bed. The little slave girl could only cover her face in embarrassment. After the vacation, the Holy Cup ceremony with the twin sisters had also been conducted. For the first time in his life, Yudo saw a ceremony so noisy. Linnea ran over to congratulate him for adding new members to the family. She reported news to him. The idiot Steinthur was still alive. Nevertheless, there was still no one in the world who could match Yudo. Ingrid had forged a new sword for Rune. Holding the sword, she remembered Steinthur's overwhelming power. Seeing her unhappy face, Ingrid immediately complained. Rune tried to explain, but Ingrid was still irritable, thinking she didn't like what she made. Ingrid wanted Rune to give her an explanation. Otherwise, she would sulk and not make weapons anymore. Actually, Rune was complaining that this weapon wasn't made by Yudo. She wanted him to make it for her. The old katana always reminded her of the feeling of having Yudo by her side, protecting her. She was afraid of having to fight without his protection. Yudo came in with something he wanted to ask of Ingrid. He had found Rune's sword. Although it was a bit damaged at the handle, fortunately, the blade was still intact. He wanted to ask Ingrid to fix it. Seeing the sword return, Rune was overjoyed, shedding tears. At the market, people gathered to buy and sell in large numbers. The glass items they made had been displayed for sale. Ingrid confessed a truth. She hadn't been able to concentrate when Yudo was close to her. Thanks to the success of the glassware, the wolf tribe would be even richer. The poverty from 2 years ago had become an ancient story. Nevertheless, the wolf tribe was still very lacking in talents to develop. The little slave Effie brought drinks over but carelessly spilled it on Yudo's clothes. The little girl apologized profusely. Yudo patted her head to reassure her. The little girl was very grateful to Yudo for saving her and her mother. She wanted to repay him. Yudo invited her to eat a piece of cake. Eating something delicious, the little girl burst into tears, remembering the happy times with her parents. Yudo pointed down, wanting to test Effie's reading ability. It turned out the little girl could read, so Felicia brought her a pile of cakes. Yudo had come up with an idea. He would organize teaching. The literacy rate of the wolf tribe was very low. If not addressed, it would be difficult to find talented people. So he would try to teach children from 7 to 15 years old, of course completely free. The wolf tribe would pay teachers, buy books, and provide locations with money earned from glass. It had been 2 years since he arrived. Now he had even planned for after his departure. Felicia recalled that time. She was very sad. In the past, while Felicia was happily playing with the young women and Rune was catching fish in the water, Yudo was sitting next to a blonde young man. The brother remarked that this was a beautiful scene. Felicia showed him the fish she had just caught. The young man warned Yudo that if he wanted to marry Felicia in the future, he shouldn't look at other girls. Yuto argued loudly that he already had a girlfriend. The other guy didn't care and continued to warn that if he made his sister cry, he would kill him. Felicia looked toward them, waving and smiling very happily. The tribal chief called everyone to gather, praising them for their efforts in the previous battle with the Claw tribe. He was very proud for carelessly leading everyone into danger. He felt very guilty. Seeing the chief bow his head, his brother immediately stopped him, saying that winning against such a strong enemy was thanks to the chief's leadership. The chief told him not to flatter. What the wolf tribe needed now was a young person, a new strong and authentic chief. Then he handed over the wolf tribe chief position to Yuto. Yuto was very surprised. He had clearly said he would return. The chief wanted to take back his words, as he saw that Yuto was the only one who could protect the wolf tribe at this time. Yuto wanted the chief to look at Brother Lopter, feeling he was also very suitable to be chief, turning to him to seek an ally. However, Lopter had turned against him, telling Yuto to stop acting. He saw that Yuto was just pretending not to want to be chief and would agree only when his father begged. Yuto argued back that he genuinely didn't want it. Becoming chief had been Lopter's dream. He had done everything to protect Felicia and the people, to make the country a powerful nation, no less than other tribes. He felt he was just a little bit away from completion, but the dream was snatched by Yuto. He went crazy, drawing his sword to cut him. The old chief stood up to block a blow for Yuto. He coughed up blood and died. Brother Lopter became a patricide. Felicia couldn't believe her eyes. Before dying, the chief had entrusted everything in the tribe to Yuto. When he had saved the wolf tribe and left this world, he wanted him to let Lopter be the chief. Having said that, he closed his eyes. Yuto felt everything was because of him. Without the phone, he was just a kid who didn't understand other people's feelings. Someone like him didn't deserve to be chief. Felicia called him to wake up from the dream. The twin sisters were here. The younger sister blamed that it was because Albert kept asking to meet. After a performance of one throwing and the other catching, they brought the main information. A clan of the Claw tribe, Notun, had been subdued by the Black Panther nomads of the Midgard tribe. The Black Panther tribe had a powerful cavalry. They shot iron arrows from horseback, annihilating the entire Claw tribe. Yuto felt that this happened too quickly. It was impossible. Moreover, was there another tribe that could manufacture iron besides them? Iron was one thing, but with the technological progress of Yggdrasil, cavalry couldn't possibly compete for a few hundred years, unless the saddle technology had been stolen. A person flashed in Yuto's mind. It was Lopter, a young man who once led the wolf tribe, but was no longer here. According to the twins' information, his rune was used to copy technology. Felicia also knew something. 2 weeks ago, he had sent her a message, asking her to leave Yuto and come back to him, telling that he was now the chief of the Black Panther tribe. Felicia also asked to accept all punishments for keeping this a secret. She swore she was only loyal to Yuto. Perhaps Lopter was still angry with him. For now, Yuto would pretend not to know anything, send a letter to congratulate Lopter, and propose an alliance. Felicia would also write a reply letter. The twin sisters would go on a separate mission. Yuto's phone also didn't have much battery left. He called his girlfriend, asking about her day. She perceptively noticed that Yuto was forcing himself to be happy. Indeed, he couldn't hide anything from her. She didn't know if Yuto could fight with Lopter, as he still had feelings after all. Yuto assured her that because he was the chief, when necessary, he would have to fight regardless of who the opponent was. Felicia wrote a reply letter, saying she only followed her only brother, Yuto. Lopter didn't accept the truth, thinking that Yuto was impersonating his sister to write the letter. He thought it was time to take back what Yuto had taken from him. The next day, the Black Panther tribe attacked the Horn tribe. The town of Mirkfir had been captured. At this point, Yuto had to fight. He ordered Felicia to summon soldiers to protect the Horn tribe. It would take them a few days to reach Mirkfir. Yet as soon as they had gathered the troops, the enemy had come to attack first. They had used the hit and run tactics that Yuto had applied to the Claw tribe, so Yuto didn't know whether to fight or not. Felicia suggested waiting for Rune to come, but the enemy wouldn't wait. A barrage of arrows flew toward them, forcing them to hide behind cars. Felicia couldn't believe the enemy could shoot from such a distance. If not for the metal car, perhaps they would have been gone. Yuto's side wasn't easy either, using crossbows to respond. Seeing the difficulty, the enemy troops retreated. Yuto realized they were just the vanguard. When they joined the main force, that would be the real battle. The commander returned, reporting the situation to Lopter. He detailed everything. In just half a year, Yudo had been able to develop the country to this extent. The girl beside Lopter admired that he was indeed young and talented. Lopter saw that this wasn't Yudo's real talent, but just a lord's trick, so this time would be his playground. A herd of enemy horses charged again to counterattack. They had been surrounded, fallen into a trap. Lopter's troops completely overwhelmed in numbers. Lopter thought Yudo relied too much on the phone. If he knew the calculations in advance, he found it too easy to deal with. He ordered his troops to charge again. From behind the cars that seemed like goods, a series of arrows from Yudo's side were shot out. It turned out that the things in the cars weren't goods but shields, maintaining the advantage that could make the enemy willingly approach. Yudo had to admire that Lopter was indeed very good, but he had also tried hard over the past half year. All of Lopter's plans had been grasped in the palm of his hand. Yudo's troops took down a series of enemies. Yudo thought if he died, he would definitely go to hell. The girl beside advised Lopter to retreat, but he was still very stubborn. He saw that they could win if he used her power, Sijin. She quickly understood. News reported to Yudo that the enemy was gathering in one place. Something was very strange. Yudo sensed that something around was changing. Soldiers who had fallen also stood up. Yudo's body felt very strange. Following Sijin's chanting, the enemy troops continued to attack. Even when shot, they didn't die but continued to advance like zombies. Lopter had broken through the iron wall. With Sijin's magic, his soldiers had become fearless warriors. Yudo and Lopter came face to face. Lopter felt that this time they no longer had any brotherly affection. He wanted to take back everything Yudo had stolen from him. Felicia stood to shield Yudo. She argued with Lopter, because now Yudo was her only brother. Angered, Lopter swung his sword. Fortunately, Yudo had blocked it for her. He didn't want him to lay hands on his sister. Finally, Rune arrived. She wouldn't let anyone harm her father. Somehow, the enemy's horses had all fled, forcing Lopter to retreat. It turned out that Rune had ridden a camel to arrive, and horses greatly disliked the smell of camels, very effective against cavalry. Felicia apologized to him for not being able to protect him. Anyway, she would still be Yudo's deputy. Now what Yudo needed to care about was the strange feeling at that time. Lopter was enjoying pleasure with his subordinate Sijin. The girl talked about that moment. Yudo had resisted her magic. The Gleipnir magic had bound him. Lopter knew this because Yudo came from another world. Hearing this, Sijin felt extremely interested. She didn't understand how this could be. It was Felicia who had summoned him here, becoming a formidable opponent for him. That morning, Yudo felt extremely cold. He guessed winter must have arrived. The wind blew, causing Felicia's skirt to lift up. But Yudo didn't pay attention to her feminine wiles, only urging her to move quickly because it was cold. Felicia wasn't satisfied. She had clearly tried to let her brother see a hot scene. Because it was quite cold this morning, Yudo's office had been prepared with a heater, making his soul burst with summer sunshine. Yudo invited Felicia to sit together, as he had asked Ingrid to make it a bit more compact. As soon as she sat down, Felicia felt a burst of happiness. This heater was heated by coal, not electricity, very similar to old-time heaters. The problem was that sitting here while working made it very easy to get sleepy. Just as he finished saying this, Felicia sitting beside had already dozed off. Yudo took the book from her hand, feeling that having a day like this occasionally wasn't bad. At school, the class had ended. Now everyone was going home and chatting happily. Effie still sat still in one place, unable to communicate with the surrounding friends. The twin sisters were also very happy to sit in the heater. Effie brought drinks over. Yudo's group started to rest a bit after work. Yudo invited Effie to have cake. The little girl felt it wasn't appropriate because she was working. Yudo invited her to rest with them. People resting together would be great. Albert pulled the little girl's hand, inviting her to join. Although she couldn't make friends, when Yudo asked, the little girl still lied that the friends were very nice to her. However, the next day, Yudo and Chris came to school to observe Effie. Yudo felt this was also his responsibility. Chris thought he was a father obsessed with his daughter, who would beat to death any guy who dared to flirt with his daughter. Very quickly, Yudo realized that Effie was isolated. Chris asked for permission to intervene. She and Albert both enrolled in school. According to the introduction, these two had ignored their youth to pledge to become Yudo's daughters. The teacher hoped the students would treat them well. After creating a commotion, Chris chose a seat. She chose to sit next to Effie. During class, Chris continuously gave orders to Effie, causing the student sitting behind to be displeased. Chris returned to report that the class was ruled by a school boss. That girl had instructed the other students to ignore Effie, because Yudo had accompanied her when she enrolled and seemed close to her. Yudo thought he was just being friendly, but that unintentionally made the other girls jealous. Everyone wanted his attention, and he only cared about Effie, so the school boss didn't like it. Yudo sighed helplessly. Chris would become the new school boss, changing Effie's position in the class. If Effie was close to the new school boss, the other students wouldn't be able to ignore her. Chris guaranteed everything would be fine. The next day's class ended, and a red-haired girl invited a friend to visit her home. But everyone had gathered around Chris. Chris invited everyone to come to her house, and the friends followed very happily. Only Effie and Albert stayed behind. Effie went to the red-haired friend, extending her hand to invite her to come play. The girl refused. In the end, thanks to Effie's sunshine smile, she shed tears, holding Effie's hand to go play together. Chris returned to report that everything had been resolved. Albert was still happy because she wouldn't have to go to school anymore. But Chris had said everything would still continue. Albert screamed in tears because she didn't want to go to school. Yudo called his girlfriend to wish her a Merry Christmas. At Yudo's current time, Jesus Christ hadn't been born yet. In this world, Yudo felt there was nothing he could give as a gift. His girlfriend thought what was important was still the heart. If he wanted a gift that was both sentimental and givable, she advised Yudo to just make it himself. Yudo thought this was a good idea. Yudo's phone had run out of battery. Turning off the phone, his girlfriend worried, not knowing who Yudo was giving gifts to. Ingrid went to Yudo's room to give him a beating. Seeing this scene of domestic violence, Felicia sighed that the two were very close. Ingrid left in anger. Today Yudo had said he wanted to blow glass, but he had forgotten, making her angry. On the way, the two met Rune. She demanded to go along as a guard. Yudo changed the subject, not letting her follow, telling her not to come. Sister Albert also wanted to go. Fortunately, the perceptive younger sister had stopped her. At the workshop, Yudo presented the design. He wanted to make some weird things. Felicia's and Rune's birthdays were coming up. He wanted to give them something handmade. Ingrid was upset again, as she lost her day off because of this. After a bit of coaxing, she calmed down. She saw this as a good opportunity to make Yudo see her as a woman. She learned from Felicia to use feminine charm. But unfortunately, Yudo still didn't respond. The two sisters were watching, guessing that Yudo was inventing new technology. Finally, the product was completed, but the work was all done by Ingrid. Yudo felt it wasn't nice to say this was something he made. Ingrid encouraged him. She used the excuse that it was hot to expose her clothes. Yudo put his hand on her shoulder, saying he had something to tell her since there were only the two of them now. Yudo wanted her to be more feminine, wanted her to know she was also a woman. Hearing this, Ingrid got angry, resorting to violence. The next morning, Yudo gave Ingrid a necklace, calling it a divine weapon, as an apology for making her angry. He also wanted her to dress a bit prettier in the future. Ingrid was very happy with the gift. She would try to work every day. The priest had come to see Lopter, reporting that the wolf tribe was breaking the balance. He wanted to become sworn brothers with the lightning tribe. He wanted the wolf tribe chief to disappear from this world. The sky had brightened, and Rune woke up. Felicia passed by, praising her for being very diligent. Felicia had to get up early to prepare breakfast for Yudo. Her enormous breasts had caused fruit to fall from the basket onto the ground. Rune caught them and returned them to their original position, wondering what Felicia ate to get so large. Rune thought big breasts only got in the way of a warrior. Felicia disagreed, guessing that Yudo would like large breasts. She didn't know what size was normal in Yudo's world. In the real world, Yudo's girlfriend Mitsuki was being groped by Ruri. Ruri was jealous of her watermelons, believing she definitely ate a lot for her breasts to be so big, so Ruri wanted to share her food. Then Ruri sighed that Mitsuki was truly a girl in love, cooking very deliciously. When Yudo was mentioned, Mitsuki became sad again. Ruri didn't understand why Yudo would abandon a good girl like Mitsuki. Mitsuki defended him, saying that she clearly saw Yudo was also trying to find a way back. Ruri didn't believe it, guessing that by now, Yudo already had a house full of wives and children. Nonetheless, Mitsuki still believed in Yudo, even though they had never dated. Ruri invited her to come to her place for New Year's Eve. This year, her cousin who had studied abroad was returning to Japan. That sister was very knowledgeable, with a PhD in archaeology. Mitsuki guessed she might know something about the world where Yudo was. So Mitsuki went to Ruri's house. Cousin Takao Seo welcomed her. Seiya was also very interested in the story of Mitsuki's childhood friend being summoned to the past. Although she didn't believe it, Seiya thought Mitsuki wouldn't lie, so she wanted to hear the whole story. After hearing it, Seiya would decide whether to believe it or not. After hearing the story, Seiya felt that if this was fiction, a high school student who could make it up would be very talented. So she decided to believe Mitsuki was telling the truth. Nevertheless, Seiya couldn't guess where Yudo had gone. From the description, Seiya saw that these were all terms from Norse mythology, but some terms differed from her understanding. Yudo had also researched but found nothing. However, there were still some similarities. For instance, Yudo's title as the notorious wolf, Hruvitnir, is another name for Fenrir, and the lightning tribe chief is somehow related to the god Thor. Yudo had used the Weil River strategy to fight him. That's the story of the giant serpent Jormungandr that fought with Thor 3 times. The Edda book said that in the Battle of Ragnarok, it swept away the land with floods. Too coincidental. Even Yudo's name is related to this battle. In the legend of Ragnarok, there is a giant called the Black Man, leading the Muspel army on horseback across the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost to attack Asgard, a fire giant who destroyed the world. That's Surtur. Perhaps Suuyu Yudo was shortened to this name Surtur. Mitsuki's surname Shimoya also resembles the name of Surtur's wife, Sinmara. Mitsuki was too confused to say anything more. From this, it could be guessed that Yudo was creating the original Norse mythology. Yudo estimated that the time he was in was 1500 BC, long before Norse mythology began. Suddenly, Mitsuki's body started trembling violently. She remembered that Fenrir and Jormungandr were killed at the end of the mythology, meaning Yudo would die. She wanted to save him. Seiya reassured her that Yudo's reality was not following the mythology correctly. Everything could still be saved. But Mitsuki still looked very uneasy. When it was time to leave, Seiya told her that Norse mythology was just passed on through oral tradition. No one knew which parts were accurate and which weren't. She wanted Mitsuki not to give up hope. During the time of Ragnarok, all bindings, chains, and seals were broken. Those who were imprisoned were released. It could be said that Yudo would return. Seiya would try to find out more. Mitsuki returned home. Snow had fallen. Yudo was worried because Mitsuki hadn't called him back. Skarfir called him over. The two sat drinking wine, talking heart to heart under the moonlight. Yudo wanted him to give him a hard punch. Their barrier had been broken in the battle with the Black Panther tribe because of his hesitation, causing many people to sacrifice themselves. He took all the blame. Skarfir thought that thanks to Yudo's leadership, the casualties were quite few. No one in the wolf tribe was dissatisfied. Nevertheless, Yudo couldn't forgive himself. With such a failure, Yudo was still thinking about the old world. He felt he was truly a failed chief. He was still too young to bear this weight. Skarfir invited him for a drink. Next time, they would definitely win. He wanted him to keep an eye on Rune. Only Rune, the strongest wolf, could match Steinther. Rune outside had overheard everything. Felicia passed by, noticing she was like a person without a soul. Felicia wanted to ask Rune for help with something. Linnea had proposed a gift for Yudo to thank him and fill it with prayers for peace. They wanted to make a cloak for him together. Lopter still hated Yudo because he thought he used his father as a shield. He didn't want Yudo to exist. Sijin gracefully stepped forward, placing a gentle kiss on his forehead. Mitsuki called Yudo to wish him a happy new year. She wanted to be the first person to talk to Yudo in this new year. That's also why earlier when Yudo called her, she didn't answer. She told Yudo about what happened today at Seiya's house. Yudo was jealous, wanting to confirm that today only girls had contact with her. Mitsuki thought everyone was a good person. There was one more important thing Mitsuki wanted to say, but Yudo's phone had run out of battery. He just wanted to know if Ruri's relative was male or female. Mitsuki kissed the phone. The moon tonight was very beautiful. She called him an idiot. Then she shed tears, not knowing why he wouldn't understand her feelings. On this side, Yuto didn't know what was happening with his girlfriend. She also hadn't said if that relative was a boy or a girl. Seeing Yudo on the road, the twin sisters demanded to go with him. The night here was very quiet. Just as he finished saying this, they saw a girl surrounded by a group of men. The girl was still boldly saying that this place was dirty and scum. Yudo had to go out to intervene. The thugs immediately froze, kneeling down to pay respects. The girl turned her face. It was Mitsuki. In the bright moonlight, Mitsuki stretched out her arms. Divine Emperor Sigurdrifa. She was the true heir of the holy country of Asgarer. She prayed to the moon, the source of Ismedjan, for a bountiful harvest this year, asking for prosperity and eternity for the kingdom. Then she wondered who would wish her a happy new year this year. After an evening stroll, Yuto returned. Felicia had greeted him at the door. She was a bit annoyed because guarding Yuto should have been her job. But lately, Chris had been taking it over. Yuto suggested preparing another room because Mitsuki had come here. Felicia was also surprised, but she was just someone who looked like Mitsuki. Her true identity was the daughter of one of the 3 great families of the holy country of Asgarer, princess of the Jarl tribe, Lifa. She was traveling quietly, but since Yuto knew, it was better to let her stay as a guest. The girl looked around in confusion, sighing that this place was more like a garbage dump than she thought. Although this place wasn't as good as the royal palace, Felicia promised to welcome her with all her heart. Lifa expressed her desire to take a walk. Chris would return to the inn to report the situation to her guards, as she had left without saying anything. Rune had been following and observing from far behind for a very long time. Although Yuto didn't notice, Chris was still more perceptive. Rune thought this was also a good thing. If her father knew she was guarding him, she was afraid he wouldn't be comfortable. According to Rune, this girl named Lifa was very strong. Even if they caught her off guard, Chris couldn't win. Although Lifa was strong, Rune still found her immature, like a rough diamond that hadn't been polished. She wasn't just simply a princess, but Rune didn't think she was a concern for Yuto. Lifa was admiring the scenery, finding it hard to believe that Yuto was the black man. The next morning, Lifa caused a commotion at the forge, demanding to enter. The guards tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. Yuto ran over, telling her that this place had to be kept secret from other tribes, so she couldn't enter. Looking at Lifa's face, identical to his girlfriend's, Yuto wavered momentarily. Ingrid pushed the door open, stepping out. Seeing a face exactly like Mitsuki's, she was no less surprised. She didn't expect her friend to have arrived here too. Yuto explained this wasn't Mitsuki. Seeing the famous blacksmith Ingrid from rumors, Lifa quickly rushed over to hold her hand. This was the 3rd time this princess had been mistaken for someone else. She didn't understand where Mitsuki came from. Yuto had to change the subject, saying Mitsuki was quite far away. Lifa then asked about what Ingrid had said, about Mitsuki coming to this world. Yuto had to reveal the truth that he came from another world. At that time, he had looked into a divine mirror made of elemental copper, then was brought to this world while Felicia was performing a deep divine spell called Gleipnir. So Lifa guessed that in this world, there was also another elemental copper mirror. Yuto was very surprised by her knowledge. Her empire was very good at researching elemental copper and mystical magic. Yuto was excited to know more, but Lifa wanted her hungry stomach to be filled first. She picked up a hamburger and gnawed on it eagerly, sighing that this dish was very delicious. After eating their fill, everyone began to talk. Yuto was looking for a way to return. Lifa looked at Felicia, not feeling that she emitted much divine power, even lower than a mage. Not to mention twin mirrors, Felicia's power wasn't enough to summon a person. Lifa was also a mage, the best mage in Yggdrasil. Yuto had also searched for famous mages, but he had never seen the name Lifa. Lifa cast a spell making Yuto unable to move to prove her ability. She was just demonstrating her power. Like Steinther, she also had 2 runes. Felicia was surprised that in this Yggdrasil, there was another person with 2 runes. On her first day here, Lifa's identity had already been exposed. Actually, she was the 13th divine emperor of the holy country of Asgarer, Sigurdrifa. Felicia knelt down, apologizing for her lack of knowledge. Yuto also apologized, begging to be released from the immobilization spell. There are 2 main types of spells, those with internal effects, and those with external effects. She had just used the raising spell with internal effect. An external effect spell was needed to counteract it. But she was very poor at external spells, so she didn't know how to release this. Her spell would wear off after 1 week. Yuto begged Felicia to save him, but unfortunately, she couldn't either. Only Sigyn, the witch of Mialger, could. That's Sigyn from the Black Panther tribe. She could use Fimbulvetter, a spell that releases everything from any bond. So that was the reason for that battle. That night, Yuto called Mitsuki, telling her about meeting someone who looked very much like her named Lifa. Mitsuki was startled, feeling it sounded very familiar. After being told by Lifa, Yuto knew how to find the way back. Mitsuki demanded to hear the details. The only person who could break the spell for Yuto was the enemy, Sigyn. Mitsuki thought they just needed to find someone else with a similar spell. Mitsuki was eagerly anticipating the day Yuto would return. Today, Yuto held a New Year's celebration. When the ceremony ended, Felicia brought out a cloak. Yuto put it on. Now he would perform the New Year's ceremony to welcome Lifa. Everyone ate and drank deliciously together. When they were tipsy, the lovely ladies began to cause trouble. They took off all their clothes and just threw themselves at Yudo. The twin sisters completed their intelligence mission and returned. 8,000 troops from the Lightning Tribe, led by Steinter, had set out to attack the Wolf Tribe. Even Chris had lost her vigilance. 12,000 of Yudo's troops were assembled. Before going into battle, Lifa wanted a reward for Yudo. She kissed him on the lips. She said she would wait for news of victory. The first fortress had fallen. Yudo thought it was time to use Han Zin's tactic of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Rune took care of the right flank. Scarfier led the left flank. Steinter's troops took to the field like an arrow. Steinter led the way, carrying a strange weapon. He opened an umbrella made of iron that blocked all crossbows. Then he threw the umbrella up, successfully breaking the surrounding wall. Yudo had already planned for this contingency. Seeing the Lightning Tribe's progress was too fast, Felicia began to suspect. The Lightning Tribe troops had also been equipped with iron weapons. It was possible that the Lightning Tribe and the Black Panther Tribe had collaborated. Yudo's second line had been broken. It was time for him to deploy the Kuyaku formation, deploying troops in 2 rows and then luring the enemy in to destroy them. The enemy had fallen into the wolf's fangs. Steinter still didn't retreat, ordering all troops to move forward. Rune appeared, stabbing and wounding Steinter's horse. Yudo thought victory was already in hand. Suddenly Chris rode up on horseback. A cavalry unit was coming from the south, 10,000 troops. That was Lopter's army. On this side, Steinter was combating 2 wolves at once. When Rune was attacked, Scarfier had rushed to block for her and fallen down. Next would be Rune. When Scarfier fell into the deep abyss, that moment ignited the smoldering anger in Rune's heart, transforming her into a giant flame burning fiercely. Determined not to let Steinter have any chance to be arrogant, she tightened her grip on the sword handle, and without hesitation rushed straight into battle. However, Steinter was not an easy opponent. He swung his giant hammer, creating a swirling sandstorm, each grain of sand flying hazily, wrapping around Rune, obscuring her vision and making breathing difficult. She spun around, swinging her sword repeatedly into the whirlwind, each slash tearing through the air. But Steinter was still like a wild, crazy beast, continuously delivering hammer blows heavy as thunder. Rune had to frantically maneuver, avoiding each fatal blow by inches. Steinter grinned ferociously, raising his hammer to finish her off when his son rushed over to report that the Black Panther Tribe's forces had crossed over to attack the Wolf Tribe. Hearing this, Rune immediately awoke. She gritted her teeth, stood up, and charged at Steinter again, ready to sacrifice her life to stop him. Elsewhere, Yudo was facing real danger. Waves of hoofbeats echoed relentlessly. 10,000 cavalry from the Black Panther Tribe were rapidly approaching. In the Wolf Tribe camp, the atmosphere became more tense than ever. Felicia approached Yudo, advising him to retreat to save his life, because there are battles that cannot always be won, and Yudo cannot be invincible. They needed to retreat to regroup their forces. The twin sisters had to agree, but Yudo understood better than anyone that if they retreated, the enemy would pursue and kill them. His territory would be damaged. All the men of the Wolf Tribe would be killed, and the women would become slaves. He knew he had to grasp the situation. That harsh truth made him clench his fists, his eyes lighting up with determination. He could not abandon his family. Meanwhile, Lopter, the leader of the Black Panther Tribe, was confident to the point of arrogance, believing he knew all of Yudo's schemes. He incited his soldiers, stirring up hatred so they would rush into battle with crazy determination. Yudo calmly calculated. He could not call Rune back to disperse his forces. Then suddenly a bold and risky plan flashed in his mind. The battle erupted, the earth and sky shaking from the sound of hooves and the harsh clash of weapons. Arrows rained down like a deluge. Wolf Tribe soldiers fell continuously, many beginning to panic. In the moment close to despair, Yudo spurred his horse straight to the front lines. His main character aura shone brilliantly, lighting the spirit of the soldiers. Seeing this, Lopter shouted orders to capture Yudo alive, offering a big reward to whoever completed the mission, making him the #1 target. But Yudo was not afraid. His voice echoed amid the smoke and fire, encouraging everyone to fight to the end against the opponent. The words rang out like thunder, igniting courage in everyone's hearts. The morale of the Wolf Tribe surged strongly, counterattacking fiercely, pushing back the Panther Tribe forces. Felicia's eyes welled with tears. She admitted that Yudo was the savior of the entire Wolf Tribe. At the same time, the battle between Rune and Steinther was still undecided. Rune was exhausted, her body worn out, while Steinther was like a mad tiger, getting more excited the more he fought. As she was distracted by the victory cheers from afar, Steinther suddenly launched a sneak attack. A terrible hammer blow struck down, causing her to fall backward. But Rune did not allow herself to collapse. In her mind appeared the image of Yudo, the person she wanted to protect at all costs. Drawing strength from that, she braced herself to stand up. Steinther thought she was exhausted, advanced to end the fight, but didn't expect that Rune had silently set a trap. When he swung his hammer, the blow was so strong it knocked the sword from her hand, making Steinther think the battle was over. However, in that fateful moment, her sword returned to its owner. Rune spun around, using a flick that caused the sword to bounce back, piercing straight into Steinther's stomach. His eyes bulged in extreme pain. Cheers echoed across the battlefield, signaling that Yudo's plan had succeeded. The Panther tribe was driven into a death trap. Steinther clutched his wound, admitted defeat, and retreated. Rune immediately went to find Scarfir. Fortunately, he was still alive after the terrible fall. Meanwhile, the Panther tribe troops were scattered and fleeing, while Lopter was furious because of the failure. He ordered Sigyn to clear the path, then rushed to where Yudo was. His sword swung up, slashing through the air, but Felicia blocked the blow in time. Though she was thrown far away, she begged Lopter to stop, while shouting for Yudo to retreat. He scoffed, cursing Yudo as a useless coward. Sigyn cast magic to support him, but her power was depleted. The spell was just a weak ember. Lopter charged up to attack, but Yudo blocked it, surprising him. Yudo looked at him, saying that he was tired of being protected by others, that from now on, he would use this sword to protect everyone. A fiery confrontation broke out, the two exchanging moves continuously, steel clashing with sparks. Although his sword was knocked away, Yudo didn't retreat. He used his whole body to charge forward, ramming straight into Lopter, causing him to fall and faint. Amid the calm wind after the battle, Sigyn's song rang out. Blue light radiated from Yudo's body, spreading across the battlefield. He smiled, handed the phone back to Felicia as a goodbye. Then his body gradually disappeared, returning to the old world. At the same time, in the real world, Mitsuki was on her way home from school when she noticed blue light emanating from the familiar room. She rushed up, opened the door, and stood still. Yudo had returned, standing there in a gentle glow. Everything was as if it had just been a fleeting dream. Yudo had returned to Mitsuki's room through the elemental copper mirror. Opening the door to see her lover, Mitsuki was overjoyed. She had to confirm several times that this was really Yudo. She had missed him so much. She rushed to hug Yudo, tears streaming down. Yudo also missed her very much. Mitsuki thought Yudo's return without notice meant he wanted to surprise her. She had been very worried when he said he would go to fight. Yudo quickly asked Mitsuki to lend him her phone. Then he used it to call his own phone in that other world. Unfortunately, there was no one to pick up on the other end. The Lightning tribe had been driven away, and the Panther tribe had retreated. Yudo felt he could be at ease for now. Mitsuki put her hand on his cheek, sighing that he had grown up and become much more handsome, though he would still be the boy she knew. Mitsuki was happy Yudo had returned. Being able to see him and touch him made her very happy. Some are happy, some are sad. Lopter was extremely angry because Sigyn reported that Yudo had disappeared from this world. Clearly, he had instructed her to let him kill Yudo. Sigyn knew that. She didn't want to get involved, but she did it so that the person she loved, Lopter, wouldn't encounter any mishaps. Lopter pushed her hand away. It was time for him to settle the score with the Wolf tribe. Steinther had also heard about Yudo's disappearance. Without its chief, the Wolf tribe was no longer formidable. The Black Panther soldiers had spread such rumors. Steinther only hoped that his masked brother Lopter wouldn't assassinate his opponent. The Black Panther tribe would soon attack Gashina Fortress. Of course, Steinther would also have the Lightning tribe join in. But without Yudo, he wasn't very interested. Knowing about Yudo's return, Rune was shocked to the point of screaming. This was a very serious matter. She needed an explanation. The magic binding Yudo to this world had been dispelled by Sigyn of the Black Panther tribe. Rune wanted Felicia to summon Yudo once more. Without a mirror, Felicia couldn't. Moreover, she also knew that Yudo had always longed to return home. Alba ran in, reporting that the Lightning tribe and Black Panther tribe were preparing to act. Meanwhile, Yudo in this world was happily going on a shopping date with his girlfriend. Mitsuki thought he had grown up and needed to change his style. but Yuto only liked dark, inexpensive clothes, making her advise him to choose brighter colors. Afterward, they both visited a cafe. Yuto complained that shopping made him tired to death. Finding clothes took more than an hour, while Mitsuki just smiled, thinking it was normal. When he pretended to be angry and left, she had to run after him to soothe him. The supermarket scene briefly reminded Yuto of his old village. Seeing Mitsuki not buying anything to save money, Yuto encouraged her to choose what she liked, saying that to him, she was always the top priority. Mitsuki only responded with a simple request. She wanted him to choose a hairpin for her so she could take it everywhere. Whatever he gave, she would like it all. The two held hands affectionately. On the battlefield, Rune and Felicia were urgently preparing for the new battle. Despite being injured, Rune decided to go to the front lines. The wolf tribe had lost Yuto. If they now lost Rune as well, perhaps the tribe would perish. Rune understood that her presence would maintain the morale of the entire army. The duty of the Moonlight Wolf was to always be at the forefront of battle. She wanted that if Yuto ever returned, Felicia would tell him that she had fought bravely until the last minute. The twin sisters told Lifa about Sijin, one of the 3 strongest mages in Yggdrasil, a troublesome one. Lifa affirmed that only she had enough ability to break Sijin's magic and summon Yuto back, but whether he wanted to stay or not still depended on him. When Linnea heard the news that Yuto had died, she didn't believe it at all. She lost her composure, thinking it was impossible. Her advisor wanted her, as a tribal chief, to take advantage of this opportunity to seize the wolf tribe. Linnea could not betray Yuto's kindness. She believed her brother was definitely still alive. Yuto and Mitsuki were enjoying peaceful moments together, eating, walking in the park, having picnics, chatting about youth, and admiring flowers. After 3 years, Mitsuki's cooking skills had improved considerably. It seemed like just yesterday she was serving Yuto burned dishes. She even fed Yuto. Mitsuki advised Yuto not to fight anymore, as he had done his best for the wolf tribe. However, Yuto still couldn't rest easy. The concern for those left behind urged him intensely. Unexpectedly, the phone rang. On the other end was Ingrid, who then passed the phone to Felicia. Hearing Felicia's trembling voice, Yuto knew something was wrong. Felicia reported that the wolf tribe had been defeated in the battle to protect Gashina City, beaten by the Black Panther tribe and Lightning tribe. Everyone had just barely escaped to Ironveer. Rune also spoke up, saying she was injured but still okay, while apologizing for the failure, not only giving the entire fortress to the enemy, but also causing many people to sacrifice themselves. Felicia tried to stay calm, but tears kept falling. Yuto wanted to suggest something. Yuto asked if he could be summoned back to Yggdrasil. Felicia replied that Lifa could do it, but everyone would respect his decision. Because everyone was family, they all wanted Yuto to be happy. Felicia sobbed, being hugged tightly by Rune for comfort. After pondering for a while, Yuto chose to stay. Later, Mitsuki invited Yuto to the temple where he had once been transported. Here, she expressed that she knew he still longed to return to Yggdrasil. Yuto was surprised, worried that would hurt her, but Mitsuki just smiled and advised him to do what he truly desired. Not stopping there, she decided to return to that world with him, even knowing they might never come back. She affirmed that she couldn't live without him. Because she loved Yuto, she didn't want to be apart from him ever again. She had thought it through carefully, unable to bear a future without the person she loved. In the moonlight, Yuto boldly proposed to Mitsuki. He said he didn't expect her to abandon her world, but if she became his wife, things would be different. Mitsuki blushed, choking back tears as she responded. Yuto vowed never to abandon her. They shared a hug and a kiss under the moonlight, then together stepped through the gate leading to Yggdrasil. Tonight's moon was beautiful. The two shared a passionate kiss. Yuto returned to that place, amid the cheers of everyone. Mitsuki met Lifa, the girl who looked exactly like her. Rune thought it was very fortunate that Felicia had called Yuto back.